On NewsHour tonight, Northeast governors raise alarm over Boko Haram resurgence. ICPC investigates discrepancies in disbursement of student loans. Nigerian workers celebrate May Day amid biting economic realities. And on the foreign scene, DR Congo seeks to lift former President Kabila's immunity over alleged war crimes. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's News Hour. I am Hawa Adam Kiawa. The chairman of Northeast Governors Forum and Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has expressed concern over the recent resumption of attacks by insurgents across the region. He said the attacks are capable of undermining the successes already recorded in the theatre of war. Zulum stated this on Thursday at the opening of the 11th meeting of the forum in Damaturu, Yobe State. He urged the military to revisit its operational strategy to ensure that it becomes more offensive. Yobe Governor Memala Buni, in his welcome address, also stressed the importance of synergy between the states and federal government, as well as security agencies, towards checking the resurgence of attacks by insurgents.
The recent re-emergence of attacks by the insurgents is a matter of serious concern, capable of undermining the successes already recorded in the theatre of war. May I humbly suggest that the military should revisit its operational strategy so as to be more offensive.
Residents of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, have been reacting to the explosion that rocked the Giwa Barracks Armory in the state. Reports say although no life has been reported lost, residents were thrown into panic mode following the blast. Trust TV's Bitrus Kirosi has more.
Sounds of explosions and shots rocked the night beginning from 10 p.m. on Wednesday and lasted for at least an hour. Some Maiduguri residents said the explosion gave them sleepless night as they feared it was a Boko Haram attack before they were later informed that it was a fire outbreak in Giwa Barracks.
My only take on this is the government puts some machineries or some measures to prevent this occurrence in the near future. Because although all the part of the military and the police come out and makes a statement that makes people calm down, and then people this morning all for every places, everybody are going their own normal activities.
It caused a lot of panicking situation to many, especially those who are very close to the area where it happened. Okay. But the government agency has been able to make it to the board, we're able to manage it so that there's calmness in the city. This is the reason why we're also here today for the May Day, otherwise nobody will be here.
Yesterday it is really disturbing because I didn't sleep last night until I saw the news that what are the fire outbreak in the Giwa Barracks. But that time I was really shocked and because of the exposure I inherited. So I think the peace of mind last night.
In the meantime, the Theatre Command of Operation Hadinkai has released a statement explaining that the armory explosions were triggered by the extreme heat in the city.
At approximately 23:30 hours on April 30th this year, a significant explosion occurred at one of our ammunition storage facilities situated within Giwa Barracks. This incident caused widespread panic among the local populace. The explosion was due to the intense heat currently prevailing in Borno as well as other regions of the country, which had a direct impact on our storage facility. Fortunately, the situation was swiftly brought under control through the collaborative efforts of military firefighters, the Federal Fire Service, as well as the Borno State Fire Service Department and various firefighting vehicles from security agencies. Civilians in the immediate vicinity were also relocated to prevent any harm to the public.
For now, normalcy has already returned in the metropolis. Bitrus Kuruti, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
In another story, a former Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, has urged Nigerians to judge President Bola Tinubu by his deeds and governance to decide his fate come 2027. Dogara, who was a guest at the 65th birthday of Archbishop John Praise, said since President Tinubu has 2 more years to end his first term, Nigerians should allow him to focus on governance and decide his fate in 2027. According to Dogara, the courage of the president must be commended on sustaining fuel subsidy removal, which was not done in his time, adding that president inherited and boldly stood by it. He argued that the president should be able to win by power of his example and not endorsement by anybody. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has commenced a comprehensive investigation into alleged discrepancies surrounding the disbursement of student loans under the Nigeria Education Loan Fund. The National Orientation Agency had alleged that certain schools working together with some banks have purposely delayed payments to students who qualified for loans so they could make money off the situation. This was followed by a media report which alleged that some institutions made unauthorized deductions ranging from 3,500 naira to 30,000 naira from each student's institutional fees received through the loan fund. In a statement on Thursday by the ICPC spokesman Demola Bakare, the commission stated that its chairman's special task force immediately commenced investigations upon receiving the allegations. He noted that the anti-graft agency's preliminary findings revealed that while the federal government had reportedly released 100 billion naira for the scheme, only 28.8 billion naira was disbursed to students, leaving a massive unaccounted sum of 71.2 billion naira. Reacting, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, has denied allegations of mismanagement following reports that student loans funds may have been diverted by some universities. This comes as the Federal Ministry of Education summoned vice chancellors of affected institutions for a meeting scheduled for May 6, 2025. The ministry, reacting to a report published on April 29th, said it was deeply concerned by claims that certain universities made unauthorized deductions from student loans disbursed through the NEL Fund scheme. Minister of Education Marut Olatunji Alausa described the allegations as very disturbing and extremely concerning, warning that any unauthorized deductions from student loans not only breach financial ethics, but also undermine the very foundation upon which NEL Fund was established. The ministry also announced new initiatives to improve transparency, including a compliance tracking system, an annual University Transparency Index, and mandatory training for bursars and ICT heads. Meanwhile, in a detailed statement issued on Thursday, NEL Fund refuted claims of misappropriation following an earlier disclosure by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Joining me via Zoom to give his perspective on this is public affairs analyst Jide Uju. Thank you for joining.
It's my pleasure. Good evening. Happy Workers' Day and Happy New Month.
All right. Thank you very much for being here. With the alleged discrepancies of unauthorized deductions discovered in the disbursement of student loans from both the institutions and banks, what is the best way to tackle this particular issue by the ICPC, and how do you think the students can be compensated if those deductions have been, seen as valid?
Okay, so I read the report with mixed feelings, and I'm very concerned because this issue of student loan scheme is one of the cardinal objectives and programs of the Tinubu administration. which he claimed as a legacy project. And it comes with a rude shock that ICPC in its investigation claimed that over 200 billion has been received by NELFund and only 44 billion has been disbursed. And some 51 institutions have been fingered to deduct unauthorized in an unauthorized manner between 3,000 and 30,000 as administration fee. This goes to show that unless there is a proper tracking metrics, proper monitoring and evaluation metrics, issues of loan disbursement, even conditional cash transfer disbursement will always be a sticky one. Because that we have had similar controversies in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs over issues around conditional cash transfer that was allegedly disbursed to the vulnerable groups. Even now on the homegrown school feeding program, we have had similar controversy, as well as the graduate employment scheme. So without a proper monitoring and evaluation metrics, this issue will continue to come up. This what the Ministry of Education is trying to do now is what should have been put in place right from the beginning before the disbursement. This is a program that is almost 2 years old, but you can see there is even a very low disbursement. From what I read in the Guardian newspaper, over 200 billion has been purportedly given to NELFund, but out of this 200 billion, only 44 billion has been disbursed. And if you look at that ratio, there's a lot of discrepancy, and that's why ICPC is probing further what is the authentic position. But it is not just enough to refute claims that this is not happening. I don't know whether NELFund itself also have a tracking mechanism to ensure the adequate compliance by the beneficiary institutions. Because if there is a tracking mechanism put in place, a kind of dashboard that monitors what goes to each institutions and how many students are supposed to benefit and how many has actually had their accounts credited, this will have laid to rest all this controversy about disbursement, number of people who have benefited, how much has been disbursed, and all of that.
All right. With a lot of students potentially benefiting from this loan disbursement, and you talking about tracking, those, disbursements, how can it be ensured that there's transparency and accountability from both institutions and banks as well, and NELFund as well?
You see, those who you need to monitor in this whole scheme are not just the institutions. You need to monitor the disbursing agency. From the look of things, it's not just NELFund that disburse this money. The NELFund works in conjunction with the Central Bank of Nigeria, with the Office of Accountant General, with the Ministry of Finance, with the banks of the beneficiary institutions, and then you talk about the vice chancellors of institutions. So it's a long value chain that needs to be tracked, and it's not just, you're not going to get appropriate record from just NELFund. NELFund will say, this is how much from our own end we have disbursed. But the banks, the Office of the Accountant General, did they cash back those the schedule that was sent to them? The Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, even the beneficiary banks, who bears the cost of transaction? Because I know banks, if you are going to make a transaction, a withdrawal from the banks, they are going to charge you some administrative fee, no matter how. And then this whole issue of charging students between 3,000 and 30,000, what is it meant for? Was this approved at the beginning? Was there even an induction? I know that this is not the first time we are having student loans. It was there during the First and Second Republic, but it has long been stopped. So the memory of how these things should be done is no longer there.
even now fund has just been newly established. So there is going to be some teething problems. But we must not jump to conclusion that money has been stolen. The impression created in the media space is that, 100 billion was approved, only 21 billion was disbursed.
Absolutely.
But if you read deeply, at least I read the Guardian version of it, you will see that the headlines does not tally with what the ICPC found. ICPC, as I said earlier on, found out that over 200 billion has been earmarked for NEF fund, but only 44 billion was disbursed in the last 2 years. And that is where there is a lot of discrepancies. And that's why I'm saying there should have been proper framework for tracking, matrix, monitoring and evaluation framework that will have involved not just NEF fund, but civil society organizations with media, you understand, oversighting, even the relevant committees of the National Assembly, like the Committee on Education in the House of Reps, Commission on Education in the Senate. They should have worked together to oversee how this whole disbursement is going, rather than having this fire brigade approach of people who are supposed to have received their money not getting it, and then missing out on school. Because this whole essence, sorry, let me land on this thought. This whole essence, the whole essence of having student loan scheme was to be sure that no student drops out of school as a result of not having money to pay for his tuition. And now, if there is a late disbursement and a child drops out of school, the whole essence of applying for that loan has been defeated. So there is a lot of angles to this whole story and to this whole mix, which needs to be sorted out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us today and for your time, Jide Ojo.
It's my pleasure. Do enjoy your workers' holiday.
All right, moving on. Amid deepening economic woes and rising inflation, Nigerian workers marked this year's May Day with mixed emotions, celebrating their resilience with renewing calls for better welfare and urgent action on a new minimum wage. Trust TV's Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima reports.
In an economy where inflation eats away at wages and cost of living continue to soar, workers and civil society members gathered not just to celebrate, but to raise their voices. Their message was unified and urgent. Governments at all levels must act decisively to ease the burden on the working class.
It's a great day, because this is the only day we have as workers to celebrate ourselves, at least to take a scorecard. Are we going forward or we are going backward as a Nigerian worker? There are so many things if the government do it to increase our productivity, like the minimum wage that we have had, they are supposed to give us. Some persons are paid, some persons are not gotten, and that make the productivity, because concerning the economic situation of Nigeria now, it is so difficult. Even the minimum wage is not even enough.
Yes, we are appealing for government. Actually, the 70,000 naira minimum wage they say they have given is nothing to be called upon, because the wage, what is going on in the country now, 70,000 naira cannot be able to buy anything, which means definitely that the inflation rate in the country now is very, very poor. So we want government to look into it so they can do something to enumerate our workers' day, so that many of the workers can go home and smile.
Our appeal to government to work is to look into a civil service sector and know how to reform it to make it a better place for people to work. In government, civil servants cannot beat his chest unless you get to that apex of your career.
They spoke of delayed salaries, inadequate working conditions, and the growing disconnect between policy promises and the life realities. The new minimum wage act 2024 remains a focal point, but for many, it is just one piece in a broader fight for dignity, security, and fairness in the workplace. Also weighing in, the Assistant General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Onayeka Chris, emphasized that workers remain the engine of national development, and yet they continue to be sidelined.
The Nigerian worker has been impoverished continuously. The salary they pay us now, the value of the minimum wage now in 2019 is 15,000 naira. And so it means that the real wages of workers are eroding as we speak. Workers are already doing the right things. All we are asking is that you pay workers well. We advocate for issues around workers. We advocate workers' issues. And we ensure that we train workers also. And we talk to ourselves through trainings, through capacity building, on the need for us to remain more productive.
His appeal was pointed, government must stop treating workers as expendable. Prioritizing their welfare isn't just a moral obligation, it is an economic necessity. May they then become more than a tradition, it is a mirror of Nigeria's workforce. As workers march home with their placards and hopes in hands, one question echoes louder than ever. Will this year mark a turning point or just another missed opportunity? Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Workers in Benue State have received an assurance that they will get better welfare and other packages as part of the state government's commitment to engender optimum productivity. The assurance came as workers in the state joined their counterparts across the country on Thursday to observe their day. The report.
1st of May every year is usually observed as Workers' Day worldwide. This day commemorates the struggle for workers' rights and honors lives lost during the fight for better working conditions as recorded in history. The 2025 May Day celebration to many workers is an opportunity to be celebrated for their dedication and resilience in service for the progress of the nation. Joseph Kwa, a staff of Konshisha local government, says he is happy to have come out to celebrate the day because the present administration in Benue State has made it seamless for him to attend the event with the prompt payment of salaries. He advised his colleagues to be more dedicated to duty.
Everybody is proud. I have come a far way. I work in the official local government and I'm proud to be here. I had to put some effort to be here to witness yet another Workers' Day.
Most of the workers share a similar view, but appealed for more to be done to ease the stress of the present economic hardship in the country.
The high level of inflation that is going on in the state. So government should increase the minimum wage of workers to at least 500,000.
We have to encourage everybody to go out. We don't stay in the environment, we go out, we cheer up people. At least the day is our own day. So we have to be out of our working place.
And from the judiciary, we are happy. We have been on strike for 5 months. And the governor really tried. He paid us, he remained, but he paid us. I'm happy.
Governor Hyacinth Andiawa, assuring the Benue worker better welfare packages, takes time to praise their resilience and dedication, describing their daily sacrifices and commitment to duty as a source of continued sustenance for the state.
And we will continue to work this hard to ensure the welfare of you workers and the poor masses of the state.
Under the present administration, Benue workers have enjoyed several benefits, including implementation of the 75,000 minimum wage, introduction of pension reforms, payment of salary arrears, staff motivational palliatives and social support, as well as enhanced government-labor relations.
Discussions around inadequate welfare packages for workers, job security and unfair worker practices by some employees across the country dominated the 2025 International Workers' Day celebration in Kaduna State. Held at the Murtala Muhammad Square in Kaduna metropolis, workers in their hundreds want the government to improve their welfare package to ensure workplace benefits and sustainable work-life balance. Trust TV's Bello Musa has more.
The participation of these children at the International Workers' Day celebration reflect the struggle of their parents to get better welfare packages that will enable cater for their education and well-being. Although the government has put in place several measures, including the new minimum wage, to improve workers' living conditions, these have had little or no impact due to soaring costs of living.
The reality is that, putting all indices together, you realize that if whatever the government have done so far is still, there's more to be done also.
With the recent promise of the federal government to give, continue paying the welfare package they promised students after the April salary, I think if they do that, then at least they have elevated some workers.
There is shortage of manpower, of course, especially in our own field, the medical and health.
We are asking for a free, fair condition, working condition, a good working environment where you will go to work, you will not be tense, you will not be afraid that something is going to happen to you. That means they should give us a secure environment where we can work freely for the government, so that our family too, we can go back after working for government, we can go back and meet our family. So
Lawal Sambo is a former Labour leader in Kaduna State. He says the government has yet to meet 50% of workers' welfare needs.
The issue of workers' welfare in Nigeria, we can say the government are trying, but they have not reached up to 50% of what the workers want. Because if you look at the economic indices and the salaries workers collect in Nigeria, you will find out that salary will not take them home.
According to the organized labor in the state, without compromising standards and despite challenges, workers are beginning to have a sense of security at work.
The calculation is simple. The past 8 years, we will do maybe, nobody will come. No any government functionary will attend the meeting, nobody will write congratulations note. I didn't know if you have gotten that one. Before, in the previous 8 years before his administration, you will be working in your office. You will see in the Facebook, you have been sacked. Or your brother at home will call you through tutor, you have been sacked. So people are not settled there. That is why we are happy. That is why we are happy with the government. We have been saying, some might think it's a compromise. No. We are looking at where we came from.
The theme for the 2025 International Workers' Day celebration is reclaiming the civic space in the midst of economic hardship. Bello Musa, Trust TV News Kaduna.
As Nigerians marked this year's May Day celebration across the country, workers in Kano State say there is little or nothing to cheer about as inflation continues to wreak havoc on the finances of Nigerians. Amid the soaring cost of living, it was rather a somber mood as workers conveyed in the state to symbolically commemorate the day while lamenting the negative impact of the prevailing economic realities. Abdulaziz Ibrahim reports from Kano.
As members of various workers' unions converge for Kano's May Day parade, the workers raised concerns around unfair workplace practices, the rising cost of living, and respect for their rights.
Government should have pity on us and look into the welfare of the workers. Because without the working force, the government cannot run. Government cannot run without working force. We are the tools with which they are working with. So they should, if you don't maintain your tools, what will happen to them?
Private school teachers are earning less salary. And they work hard, of course, but they are paid less. What I want to appeal to the owners of the private schools is to lift the welfare of private school teachers.
It's not the matter of number of teachers, but the matter of the professionalism and the welfare of the teacher. A single teacher can handle more than 100 students if he is quite all right and very encouraged by the society and the government in general.
The rice price is going off. The spaghetti we are using from 1,800 now is 22,000 naira. So they are not looking at us. We are suffering, but God is with us. And let them know that God is seeing them. He will answer our prayers.
For labor leaders, despite challenges that adversely affect workers, they are unwavering in their resolve to fight for better working conditions.
Despite these hardships, our collective resolve remains unshaken.
We must continue to advocate for justice, fairness, and the protection of our rights and dignity as nation builders. Part of our challenges is that there is urgent need of supportive staff in our various MDS. The International Labour Organization frowned at casual labor. We are having casual laborers in our MDS. Your Excellency, the International Labour Organization frowned on it. You are a labor-friendly governor. We are pleading that these casual staff that are helping us, most especially the supporting staff, shall be consumed, retained in the service for the betterment of their lives.
As the Kano state government points to implementation of the minimum wage in the state, workers and retirees remind them of unpaid gratuity for pensioners, as well as the issues of unauthorized salary deductions.
Now, half of them have been paid. The money is 43 billion. Now, up to today, the Kano state government has paid over 21 billion naira. So there is improvement in the system. And the pensioners are very happy, especially those that were putting no hope of their gratuity.
Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, while addressing the gathering, commended the perseverance of Kano workers in the face of evident hardship.
Kano State is among the very first states to have undertaken a comprehensive review of civil servant salaries. Through deliberate and determined efforts, we have successfully ensured that the new minimum wage for civil servants in Kano State stands at 71,000 naira. This is a commendable, bold step towards enhancing workers' welfare.
As the curtains close on the celebrations, this year's May Day in Kano was both a cry for improvements in the lives of Nigerian workers and colorful commemorative parades. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Kano.
This is News Hour on Trust TV, coming up after the break. Experts blame vaccine resistance on myths, misinformation, urge citizens' education. More news when we return. Do stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's look at our top stories again. Northeast governors raise alarm over Boko Haram resurgence. And ICPC investigates discrepancies in disbursement of student loans. Moving on to more stories, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC in Rivers State this Thursday boycotted the annual May Day celebration, which was scheduled to take place at the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt. Instead, workers and NLC members gathered at the Union Secretariat at D-Line Port Harcourt, demanding the reinstatement of suspended Governor Similalai Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Oju, and members of the State House of Assembly. The Rivers NLC how to continue fighting for democracy, emphasizing that workers fare better under a democratic system. The state NLC chairman Alex Agwangwo, who made the declaration while addressing workers at the Secretariat, called on the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, to facilitate a genuine reconciliation process in the state.
It's basically the fact that the democratic elected governors in Rivers State have been suspended. Remember, after the suspension, the leadership of the Congress wrote a letter condemning the appointment of a sole administrator and the suspension of the governor, deputy governor, and also the House of Assembly members in Rivers State. So, in regards to that, they were directed after due consultation with all the organs of the union that this celebration cannot hold at a public space, but should be limited in our secretariat.
That today happens to be a day, more especially for Rivers people, Rivers workers to celebrate, having so much love from the democratically elected governor, Sasimila Efubara, who took over and gave them all that is needed in terms of backlogs of promotion, in terms of bonuses, in terms of the current salary increment that workers are earning today, 85,000 naira minimum wage. And that would have shown so much love for Rivers workers to celebrate.
Since Sim came, he has been trying. As far as I know, Sim is the only governor that is trying for civil servants. He supports civil servants a lot. 100,000 to workers and pensioners. All what we, the pensioners, are saying now is that we beg His Excellency Tinubu to release our dear loving governor, His Excellency Sasimilaye Fubara. We want him.
The last two administrations, 1 billion until Fubara came and increased it to 2 billion, was being released every month to take care of our gratuities and arrears of monthly pension. So we are pleading with the sole administrator to graciously please key into that program. Now that he has announced that he's considering the 32 minimum wage, minimum pension, we are also appealing to him to please release that money so that pensioners can get their gratuity on time.
In another story, Bayelsa State Governor Senator Doye Diri has once again restated his administration's commitment to the welfare of the workers in the state. Speaking during the 2025 Workers' Day celebration at Peace Park in Yenagoa, Governor Diri noted that his administration is poised to improve the lives of workers by providing all they need within the gambit of the law. Trust TV's Friday, Ebimobowe Peter tells us more.
Appreciating the workers for their contributions and support towards the sustenance of government policies and programs, the governor announced that the implementation of the 2024-2025 promotion areas is ongoing.
Reinstatement of disengaged workers at tertiary institutions. I'd like to announce to you that that is already being done. Implementation of 2024-2025 promotion areas for all workers. It is ongoing as we speak. Request for implementation of promotion areas for teachers and local government workers. This is already being handled, and I am sure that payment has commenced. Payment of pension stipends to retirees at the Niger Delta University, Amasoma. And I engaged ASU myself finally, and we resolved between the government and ASU that the moment somebody retires, he is no more a member of ASU, he becomes a pensioner. And he will be treated as a pensioner the way all other pensioners are treated. And I am very sure that at this moment, the Pensions Board has started the payments for each retirees for January to April 2025.
State Chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Barnabas Simon, and the worker, Temple Ogiri, said the union is pleased with the implementation of promotions and other demands which have been attended to by the governor.
We feel obligated to appreciate you for all the good works and commitment your administration has shown in providing solutions to the needs of workers in the state. It is visible to the blind and audible to the deaf that your administration has been kind to Bayelsa workers. While we cannot exhaustively mention all that you have done, especially in responding to several demands presented at the last May.
Governor Duri presented 2 brand new buses to the NLC and TUC in the state. From Yenagoa, Friday, Ebimobowe Peter, Trust TV News.
Moving on, Governor Malam Umar Namadi of Jigawa State this Thursday joined labor unions and civil servants at the Malam Aminu Kano Triangle in Dutse to honor the dedication and resilience of workers at the 2025 Workers' Day. At the event, the governor pledged continuous support for workers through pro-labor policies and reforms. The report.
The event themed Reclaiming the Space in the Midst of Economic Hardship served as a platform for both recognition and reflection on the challenges facing the workforce, as well as the administration's efforts to address them. Governor Namadi, addressing a large crowd of workers and union leaders, praised the critical role of the state's workforce in driving development and governance. Highlighting the state's progress, the governor cited the implementation of the 70,000 minimum wage, construction of affordable housing for civil servants, and over 70 billion naira injected into the contributory pension scheme as proof of his administration's commitment to improving workers' welfare. In an assuring message, Governor Namadi acknowledged ongoing economic challenges but promised that the sacrifices of workers would not go unrecognized.
One of our cardinal objectives since assuming the mantle of leadership is to ensure that the state civil service as an institution remains capable and responsive in the implementation of government policies, program, and service delivery. Being aware of some of the key challenges that have developed the service over the years, such as in the area of human resource and in the right mix of quantity and quality. We have over the last 2 years taken a appropriate step in order to begin to address these challenges.
Speaking on behalf of the recognized labor, the state NLC chairman Sunusi Al-Hassan Maigatari lauded the administration's responsiveness to workers' needs. He described Governor Namadi as a labor-friendly leader, commending the government's 12-point agenda, which includes mass recruitment in essential sectors, provision of agricultural loans to workers, and the creation of palliative shops to cushion the impact of economic hardship.
The organized labor is pleading to the government for expanded employment opportunities across all ministries, departments, agencies, and MDS to augment the existing workforce. 2. That we are requesting Your Excellency to accelerate the implementation of the hazard allowance increment, especially for those working under high-risk conditions. 3, the formalization and the upgrade of nurses and midwifery is another critical area. Over 300 nurses and midwifery have been waiting for their upgrade later.
On behalf of the organized labor, TUC NLC, and the entire workforce of the state, we would like to appreciate Your Excellency for the wonderful things you are doing to the people of the Gao State. We remain loyal and committed to see to the success of your administration.
The celebration ended on a high note, with workers expressing optimism that the government's reforms would continue to address their needs and aspirations.
The suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has declared that only the court of law can prevail on her to provide evidence of her sexual harassment allegations against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Natasha was responding to Senior Advocate of Nigeria Olisa Agbakuba, who demanded that she retract her sexual harassment allegation against Akpabio because it lacked substance. Agbakuba, a lead counsel to Akpabio, issued a second formal letter dated April 22, 2025, after an earlier request on April 14th went unacknowledged by Natasha. Addressing a press conference in Lagos, the SAN said Natasha failed to provide clarity on what he described as significant contradictions in her allegations, especially concerning how alleged harassment harassment on December 8, 2023, and her subsequent praise of Akpabio the following day on social media. Responding, Natasha vowed never to substantiate her allegations without the validation of the court of law. Akpoti Uduaghan categorically denied receiving any such letters, stating that they were never delivered to her by email, courier, or in person. Former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdul Rashid Bawa, on Wednesday visited former President Muhammadu Buhari in London, the United Kingdom. Reports said the purpose of the visit of the former EFCC boss was not disclosed. Recall that the former president appointed Bawa to lead the anti-graft agency in 2021, but he was removed from office by President Bola Tinubu on June 14, 2023. Following his removal from office, he was arrested by operatives of the Department of State Services on June 14, 2023, after an invitation for undisclosed reasons shortly after meeting Tinubu. The former EFCC boss was detained and investigated for alleged financial impropriety during his tenure at the anti-graft agency. Bawa was, however, freed after exactly 134 days spent in the custody of the secret police. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, says over 2 million children are vulnerable to diseases due to lack of access to immunization services. This, according to UNICEF, is due to security challenges in the Northeast. It disclosed this at the one-day media dialogue in commemoration of 2025 World Immunization Week held in Damaturu. UNICEF said the zero-dose target it intends to achieve is constrained by insecurity, poverty, inadequate access to communities and healthcare infrastructure, including vaccine rejection. The Yobe State Commissioner of Health, Muhammad Gana, called on stakeholders, especially the media, to help reduce the alarming statistics through effective publicity for vaccination campaigns and advocacy for equitable immunization coverage that protects vulnerable children from outbreak diseases.
Yeah, the African Vaccination Week, the World Immunization Week, is a week-long, is a week that is dedicated for the commemoration of immunization. It's basically meant to sensitize the general public on the importance of immunization, which is a cost-effective strategy towards the prevention of the vaccine-preventable diseases. As we all know, we face so many outbreaks of diphtheria, meningitis, cholera and the rest. And all these are, vaccine preventable. Having seen all this, we saw that there is need to actually have a renewed drive towards ensuring that our populations accept and receive immunization.
We are in the week-long period of the World Immunization Week, and so also that coincides with the National Immunization Plus Days activities, which is geared towards providing communities, individuals with protection against polio viruses. So it's more like a situation that presents itself for us to leverage on what we are doing to improve coverage for immunization and also ensure people are rich with important vaccines that prevent them against quite a number of vaccine-preventable diseases.
In business, the Protected Unstructured Supplementary Service Data USSD debt embargo between the deposit money banks, DMBS, and telecommunications operators appears to have been totally resolved. This was confirmed by the Chief Executive Officer of MTN Nigeria, Carl Toriola, on Thursday when he spoke on the firm's first quarter 2025 results. The USSD debt had been a major dispute between the DMBS and telecos and had lasted for about 5 years. In the third quarter of last year, the telecos had threatened to withdraw the service over the lingering debt, which was around 200 billion naira then. This threat led to the swift intervention of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and an agreement was reached on payment. However, earlier this year, when it appeared the banks were not forthcoming with payments, the NCC directed the telcos to withdraw the USSD services from debt-owing DMMBS, where about 18 banks were listed. The directive prompted the banks to look inward and start to comply with an earlier circular signed by the CBN and NCC, which articulated the payment patterns for the debt. The Lagos State government has announced that it generated 582.45 billion naira in revenue during the first quarter of 2025, representing 79% of its quarterly target of 728.90 billion naira. This performance also accounted for 20% of the state's total annual revenue projection of 2.92 trillion naira, excluding net grants and the opening balance. The announcement was made in the first quarter 2025 budget performance report released on Thursday by the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget as part of efforts to promote transparency, fiscal discipline, and effective public financial management. On the expenditure side, the report highlighted that the Lagos State government spent 251.22 billion naira on recurrent items during the period, which is 78% of the quarterly target of 329.91 billion naira. This also represents 19.4% of the full-year recurrent budget of 1.30 trillion naira. Capital expenditure stood at 271.11 billion naira, indicating 52% performance against the quarterly estimate of 517.8 billion naira and 13.1% of the total capital budget of 20.07 trillion naira. Away from Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, has taken a historic step by officially requesting the removal of parliamentary immunity for former President Joseph Kabila, citing serious allegations including war crimes and support for armed rebellion. Justice Minister Constant Mutamba announced that the Congolese military prosecutor has submitted a formal request to the Senate to lift Kabila's immunity. As a former head of state, Kabila holds the status of Senator for Life, which currently protects him from persecution. Authorities claim to have evidence implicating Kabila in war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the massacre of civilians and soldiers, particularly through alleged support for the M23 rebel group. M23 has been active in North Kivu, where its offensives have destabilized the region and displaced millions. Joseph Kabila ruled the DRC from 2001 to 2019 before leaving the country in late 2023 and has been residing primarily in South Africa. It's time for sports news updates with Adeni Ajisafi.
The Flying Eagles of Nigeria got off in a perfect start in the 2025 Under-20 African Cup of Nations campaign with a 1-0 victory over Tunisia at the Cairo International Stadium. The decisive moment came in first half when Awa Ibrahim finished brilliantly in the 37th minute after a well-timed pass from Odinaka Okoro. Ibrahim calmly slots the ball into the bottom corner to give Nigeria the lead. In the second half, both teams played with caution, with Tunisia pushing for an equalizer and Nigeria looking to maintain their advantage. The Flying Eagles could not extend their lead as Tunisia also could not get an equalizer, with the match ending in a lone goal victory for the Flying Eagles. Coach Ali Zubairu's boy now shift focus to their next Group B fixture against Morocco on Sunday, aiming to build on the victory. And still on football, the Nigerian National League has waded the big stick against erring clubs. Gosu Akpabio, FC of Uyo and Barao FC of Kano severely penalized for assault and intimidation of match officials. Uyo-based Gosu Akpabio FC found guilty of assaulting match officials during their match day 15 encounter against Rovers FC of Calabar at the Uyo Township Stadium. The home team's match officials and found intimidated match officials as a player, Austin Ajibao, received caution for physical intimidation on the force assistant referee. Gossip Akpabio FC will play their next 2 home games under street closed doors, pay 250,000 naira as medical bills to the assaulted match officials, while being fined 3 million naira to be paid before their next match, as footballer Ajiba was suspended for 2 matches. Barao FC committed infraction during their home game against Gombe United at the Dambata Township Stadium. Objects were thrown at the technical bench of Gombe United, which caused injuries and led to the abandonment of the match for 15 minutes. Barao FC has been fined the sum of 2 million naira and will pay the assaulted Gombe United officials the sum of 150,000 naira for medical bills, while also playing their next 2 home matches under street closed doors. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour and Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and our watchers on our YouTube live stream for more news. I am Hawa Adamikiawa. Thanks for watching.